classmates. This is Kimberly Curtis talking, and today I will be talking to you about color scheme. So, before we get on to the color schemes, we'll talk a little bit more about color first. So, color is based off of or consisted of the hue, brightness, and saturation of it. So, the hue is just the color, and the brightness is the lightness and darkness of the color, and the lighter colors are called tints, and the darker colors are called shades. And the saturation is the intensity of the color, which, as you can see, it kind of looks like you would do like add more gray to it, but for the programs we're using, I would say it's more how opaque you make it. So the more opaque you make it, the less intense it is. So here is a overview of what I just said. So the color, the hue, the actual color, the brightness, the lightness or darkness of color, the lighter are tints, the darker colors are shades, and the saturation, which is the intensity of the color. So here is our basic color wheel. And our color wheel is consisted of primary colors, which are blue, red, and yellow. Secondary colors, which are green, purple, and orange. And tertiary colors, which is teal, indigo, violet, brick gold, and lime. And here's an overview of what I just said. So the color wheel, primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Secondary colors, purple, green, and orange. And tertiary colors, teal, lime, brick gold, violet, and indigo. And the color wheel can be divided into cool and warm colors. So for cool and warm colors, cool colors generally give off a more of a business-like and calming feel. We will see a video talking about cool colors and how they give more of a sense of like dread or fright. But from what I've read, it gives off more of a calming feel than a sense of dread. And warm colors are more lively and approachable. A combination of these colors is affected, but consider which one is more dominant and which you want to communicate. So when it comes to websites and its design, you want to be able to communicate a message immediately to the audience, and colors are a great way to communicate that message. If you want a more business-like and calming feel, use cool colors. If you want a more approachable and lively feel, use warm colors. And here is an example of some warm colors. So here's some site templates. So I didn't make these templates. I got this from a place called Template Monster, and it gives really great examples and here of warm and cool colors on websites. But here's a couple of ones that I liked. So we have one for We Love Pasta, so like a food place. So you have the reds and the yellows and the oranges, and here's one for what looks like a cat adoption online site, and you have your reds and your yellows and your oranges for the cat adoption site. And here's some cool colors. So here's some examples of the cool colors. So here we have our it looks like a photography website, which has the blues and the purples and the greens. And here's an architecture website, which gives you, the blues and the greens. And these two websites for me look very give off that that business-like feel that they want us to have and want to communicate, and has a kind of a calming effect also, especially this one. I really like this one a lot. And this one feels more business-like. And again, these are just from Template Monster. So here's an overview of what we went over. So the warm colors, which are violet, red, brick, orange, yellow, and gold, they're more lively and approachable. And this is an example of the sites used for kids sites, food, restaurants, and animal or pet adoption agencies. Not that they can't be like business or professional, but Yeah, it just gives you more of a lively and approachable feel. And cool colors, which are lime, green, teal, blue, indigo, and purple. Cool colors are more calming and businesslike, and they're used for more a professional use, such as, the photography side and the architecture side, and maybe like a design side, like interior design or clothing design. Like I said, it can be combined, but you need to consider which one is more dominant, which one you want to give which feel you want to give the site. So if you want it more business-like, use more cool colors. Approachable, use more warm colors. So it's really important to consider your audience for the site when you choose these colors. So let's go down to color scheme. So there are 6 basic color schemes. The first color scheme is monochromatic. And the monochromatic, you just choose one color and use the varied shades of that color. So right now we have violet, and just use like light or dark violet and anything in between. You can always add black or any neutral color to this color scheme. You can actually add any neutral color to any of the color schemes, such as black, gray, or white. But this color scheme is usually like safe and has a calming effect. And here's an example of that color scheme. So this is a site I found. It's playthedot.com. And yeah, there's a little bit of yellow, so it's not exactly monochromatic, but I mean, it's mostly green. And despite it being so simple, it looks really professional looking, and I really liked the way the site was done. And I think it gave a good example of what monochromatic site could look like. Here's just an overview of what I just told you. So monochromatic, choose a color with a varied shades and tints. Just choose one color, and usually has a safe and calming effect. So analogous, hopefully I'm saying that right. So analogous is the color scheme where you choose adjacent colors next to a color you choose. So you choose orange for analogous site. So this colors you pick would be like the gold and the brick. Pretty self-explanatory, as you can see. This color combination is what produces the cool colors and the warm colors. So if you want it more lively, choose the warm colors. If you want it more calming, choose the cool colors. Here is a site that I got. It's the Sabra site, which I felt made a good analogous example. So you have your red and you have your orange. You can see orange here. And then you have your brick right here. And this gives it a more lively feel. I mean, they're promoting the Super Bowl. They want you to be excited. And using these color combination definitely gives off that feel for you. And here's just an overview of what I just told you. So analogous, adjacent colors on the color wheel, and this combination produces cool and warm color combinations. So here's a complementary colors. So, I mean, complementary is just choose 2 colors that are directly opposite of one another. So, as you can see, I choose green and red. I mean, you usually see green and red, you think Christmas. Obviously, those are Christmas colors. But you could actually use these colors for other sites. And the way you use them, you won't think of Christmas. So, for complementary colors, you need to use like darker shades or a dark and light shade so they won't clash. So you usually should not use the hue or just the original color of it, and that's the middle part. That would be the hue. And because if you use those 2 colors, that would be clash, and it would give off that Christmas vibe for you. So here's a website I found. It's called Nature's Table, and this is a complementary color scheme. So you have the dark red right here, the lighter green right here, and despite it being red and green, you don't think Christmas. You see this and you think, I mean, the salad, they show the salad here, and you think of like food, and it's a really great example of red and green complementary color combination. And you can do that with orange and blue. Instead of the Broncos, you can use the darker colors, make a really great color combination. So it's yellow and purple and just all these color combinations. You just have to use like darker shades or a dark and light shade for it so it doesn't clash. Here's an overview of what I just told you. So complementary, two colors that are directly opposite one another. To avoid clash, choose dark on dark shades or dark on light shades. So here's split complementary colors. So for the split complementary color, you choose a complementary color. And then to each side of its complement, choose the color on each side of the complement to make it split. So that's why it's big split. And these color combinations give you your combination of warm and cool colors. So right now we have, indigo and gold, but we chose, for a split complementary, the yellow and the orange. And this gives off, this would give off, if you choose this color, would give off more of a warm color scheme with some yellow in it. And, it could become cool if you make the blue more dominant over the orange and the yellow, but since there's two warm colors and one, cool color, or probably make it more, you probably want to make it more of a warm complementary color palette. Here's an example of it that I found. And I found this on Creative Commons, which is a free website where you can go and choose, you pick whatever design you want or whatever you want to look for in the search bar, and it will give you free pictures you want to use on the web. So here is the split complementary picture that I found. It gives off a good example of split complementary. So you see how it has a cool design. So you have the purple, and you also have the blue right here, but you have the purple and the lime, but you also have some of the gold right here, which gives off that sort of warm color, but it doesn't it gives a good complement to it. You still get that cool feel from it, that calming feel from it, but you still have that like little hint of warm color, which gives off, it gives off a good balance to this picture. So here's the overview. So split complementary, choose a color and pick the colors that are each side of its complement. Helps with variety and a cool and warm color combo. And here's big split complementary. You don't see this one very often, but like I said, again, you can use it for if you want to choose a warm and cool color combo. So you have, again, the indigo and the blue, but instead of the yellow and the orange, you skip the step and choose the one that you skip. So we have the brick and the lime. So this would be more, like I said, again, a warm color palette. And I know that lime is usually used for cool, but since it's more closer to yellow, I feel like it would be more of a warm color palette than a cool color palette. But like I said, if you make the blue more dominant, it could easily become a cool color palette. It just, you have to decide which ones you want to be more dominant. So usually if you want to have a warm color palette, choose a complementary color scheme and choose the one color you want to be more dominant. So choose the warm color if you want to be more dominant, and choose the ones on the side of the warm color. I hope that makes any sense. And if you have any questions, just ask in the discussion board. So here's a overview of the big split complementary. So choose a complementary color scheme, then choose on each side while skipping. Choose the color on each side while skipping a step. And, the combo for cool colors. And like I said, make sure you pick the complement you want to be more dominant. So if you want to be more warm, pick the warm color over the blue color, over the cool color. And here's tetradic color scheme. So the tetradic color scheme is just two pairs of complementary colors that you use while skipping a step. So if you wanted to do a tetradic with blue and orange, you skip step over and you choose the red and green, or you can do the opposite way and choose the purple and yellow, but I just chose the yellow and green for an example. For these color schemes, it creates more of contrast and harmony at the same time. And here is an example of that. So this is a oh, sorry. This is a poster I found on Pinterest that gives off this uh, color scheme. Well, I felt give off that color scheme. So you have the greens and the reds, and then the indigos and the golds for that color scheme, and that would make it a tetradic color scheme. And I mean, it's very simple, and like I said, you can always add any neutral colors like white, gray, or black, which it did add that, and it gives it gives a good contrast, but also harmony at the same time. Here's the overview for tetradic. So two pairs of complementary colors by skipping one step between. It creates contrast and harmony at the same time. So here's triadic color scheme. So you choose three colors that are equal distances from each other. So usually you skip three steps between, and you can use this like the big split complementary. You can choose which ones you want to be more warm colors or cool colors, which are the ones you want to be more dominant. Here's an example of tetradic. So we have our brick, and then our blue, and then our lime. And even though there's more of a cool colors in it, because the chairs are so dominant, it gives off more of a warm feel. And this is an example of what I've already said, of like you can have more cool colors, but if you make a warm color more dominant, it gives off that warm feel instead of the cool feel. And so here's overview of the triadic. So choose three colors that are equal distance from each other, and it creates a warm and cool color combination. And here is just an overview of what I just did. So the color schemes. So use an existing color scheme. So use one of the 6 themes to choose from, which is monochromatic, analogous, complementary, split complementary, big split complementary, triadic, and tetradic. And these color schemes are the most harmonious color relationships. They're the safest color relationships. You can't go wrong with these color schemes if you choose between these color schemes. You can use other color schemes that don't fit the 6 themes, but it's not advisable, and you have to be really, really careful with it, and you have to have a really, really good eye. So when we're starting out, I would just say stick to one of these 6 themes and it'll be okay. So since we're not going to be actually like combining paint and we're going to be using programs, here's an overview of the programs we're going to be using. So here's a color picker program that I found in InDesign, and these are all throughout. This is used in Photoshop and in Illustrator. So the colors we'll be using is the hex color, which is found right here, and it's usually found with a hashtag, or I like to call it a number sign. And there's the HSB, which stands for the hue, saturation, and brightness, the RGB, which stands for the red, green, and blue, and the CMYK, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and key, which is also known as black. So you can pick a hex color, and then you can choose the hue, how bright the hue is, how intense the saturation is, how intense the brightness is, if you want more red or more green or more black or more cyan, magenta, yellow, or key or black. You can affect the color with these program applications, HSB, RGB, and CMYK. And you can go online and find just thousands of hex colors. I mean, there's like just thousands of hex color combinations that you can find online. But yeah, so here's just an overview of what we will be seeing when it comes to colors. For us, usually I leave these things alone. You might actually have to do something with this in this class, I'm not sure. But I usually just leave it alone and just pick the hex color that I want. But if you want to try these out, it's kind of a self-taught type thing. You just kind of mess with it, see what you like, see what you don't like, And yeah, that's just a little overview of the programs we're going to be using for the colors. So here's, the overview again. So you use a hex color code, which is just the hashtag and then the code. It's used for the web and a lot of, Adobe programs such as Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. Um, HSB, hue, saturation, brightness, RBG, red, blue, green, and CMYK, cayenne, magenta, yellow, key, and black. And so here's some websites for hex codes, which is HTML color codes, colorhex.com, and my personal favorite, W3 Schools, Colors and Color Picker. This one is one I use the most. I'm not as familiar with these two, but this one is, you can pick a color on this one and it'll give you like 80 shades of that color, and you could just pick whichever shade you want, like the best. So yeah, if you have any questions about color schemes, just ask in the discussion board. This is just the base overview of it. I'm not an expert at this at all, but this, from just what I read, this is just the top layer of many color scheme rules that we will probably learn in the future. Okay, well, I hope you loved my or liked my presentation, and yeah, if you have any questions, just ask me on the discussion board. Thanks.